It was supposed to be just another quiet afternoon at Rosie's Diner, the kind of small-town place where the smell of bacon and coffee lingers in the air and everyone knows your name. But that day, something happened that would make the entire town stop and think about what kindness really means, because that afternoon, a young girl, sweet, shy, and living with a disability, was humiliated in front of everyone. And just when it seemed like the world had turned its back on her, something incredible happened. A group of leather-clad strangers walked through the door, and what followed changed every heart in that diner. Before we dive into this powerful story, take a second to hit subscribe to our channel, Whispers of Goodness, where we share real, soul-stirring stories about kindness, hope, and the goodness still alive in this world. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts, because kindness spreads best when we talk about it. Rosie's Diner sat on the corner of Maple and 3rd, a small, red brick building with checkered floors and neon signs that flickered at night. It wasn't fancy, but it was cozy. The regulars came for the homemade pies, and travelers stopped by for the friendly smiles. That afternoon, the lunch rush had just calmed down. Rosie, the owner, wiped down the counter while her daughter, Ellie, refilled sugar shakers at the tables. Ellie was 17, born with cerebral palsy. She walked with a slight limp and spoke softly, her words sometimes slow but always kind. Everyone in town loved her, or at least, most people did. Ellie had the kind of heart that made people want to be better. She'd remember your name, your favorite milkshake flavor, even your dog's birthday. She didn't let her disability define her, she just did her best every single day. But kindness, sadly, isn't something everyone values. That day, 3 boys from the nearby high school came in. They were loud, the kind of kids who liked to be noticed, with baseball caps turned backward and trouble in their eyes. Rosie had seen them before, and something in her gut told her they were up to no good. They slid into a booth near the window, snickering and tossing straws at each other. When Ellie came over with her notepad, her smile was as gentle as ever. "Hi, welcome to Rosie's. What can I get you today?" she asked, her voice careful but bright. One of the boys smirked. "Yeah, I'll take a burger if you can remember that." The others laughed. Ellie smiled anyway and wrote down their order. "Burger," she said softly. "Got it. And for you?" Another boy leaned forward, squinting. "You talk funny. What's wrong with you?" The diner went quiet. Rosie froze behind the counter. The cook peeked out from the kitchen. Ellie's hand trembled slightly as she held her pen. "Nothing's wrong," she whispered. "I was born this way." The boys exchanged cruel grins. "Guess God messed up," one said, and before anyone could move, he reached out and slapped the notepad from her hand. It hit the floor, scattering pages everywhere. The sound was sharp, cruel, like breaking glass. Rosie rushed forward, shouting, "Hey! That's enough!" But the boys just laughed and sauntered out, pushing the door open so hard the bell clanged violently behind them. Ellie bent down, picking up the torn papers with shaky hands. Tears welled in her eyes. She tried to smile at her mom. "It's okay," she said, but her voice broke. Rosie wrapped her in a hug. "No, honey. It's not okay." The other customers sat frozen, shame creeping over their faces. No one had stepped in. No one had said a word. And that silence, that heavy, aching silence, was louder than the boys' laughter. An hour passed. Ellie had gone to the back room to calm down. Rosie stayed behind the counter, trying to keep her composure, her heart still pounding. The regulars murmured quietly, guilt mixing with anger. Then, the sound of engines filled the street outside. Deep, rumbling, powerful. Rosie looked out the window. A line of motorcycles was pulling into the parking lot, 6 of them, chrome gleaming under the sun. The men who rode them looked like they belonged in another world entirely. Black leather jackets, long beards, tattoos crawling up their arms. The door swung open, and the diner bell jingled. The air changed instantly. The leader, a tall man with gray in his beard and a patch on his jacket that read Guardians MC, looked around slowly. His eyes landed on Rosie. "Afternoon, ma'am," he said in a low, respectful tone. Rosie managed a small smile. "Afternoon. What can I get you?" He looked over the menu, then asked, "You Rosie?" "Yes," she said cautiously. He nodded. "We heard something happened here today. A girl got hurt?" Rosie's eyebrows shot up. "How did you?" He held up his phone. "One of our guys was outside earlier. He saw those punks leave, saw your girl crying through the window. We don't like bullies." Rosie blinked, speechless. Mind if we have a word with her? The man asked gently. Rosie hesitated, but something about his eyes, calm, steady, kind, made her nod. She's in the back. A few minutes later, Ellie came out. She looked nervous, wiping her eyes. The bikers stood up as she approached, all 6 of them, forming a quiet, respectful line. The leader crouched slightly to meet her eyes. You must be Ellie, he said with a soft smile. We heard you had a rough time today. She nodded shyly. I'm okay, she whispered. He shook his head. No, sweetheart. What they did was not okay. But we're here to make it right. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, silver pin shaped like angel wings. This, he said, is what we give to people who remind us what strength looks like. We've met a lot of tough folks on the road, but you, he paused, smiling gently, you're one of the bravest. Ellie's lip trembled. Thank you, she whispered. The other bikers nodded in agreement. One of them added, don't let those cowards make you doubt yourself, kid. You shine brighter than they ever will. The diner was silent again, but this time, not from shame. From all. Rosie felt tears slip down her cheeks as Ellie pinned the angel wings onto her apron. The entire room broke into applause. Even the cook came out from the kitchen, clapping his hands, wiping his eyes. The bikers stayed for lunch, filling the diner with laughter and stories. They made sure to tip generously, and before leaving, the leader turned to Rosie. If those boys ever come back here, you call us. We'll make sure they learn a thing or two about respect. Rosie smiled through her tears. Thank you, she said. For everything. The man shook his head. Don't thank us. Thank your daughter. She reminded us why we wear these jackets, to stand up for people who need it. Then they left, engines rumbling like thunder fading into the distance. Word of what happened spread fast. By the next morning, everyone in town had heard about the bikers who stood up for Ellie. The 3 boys who had bullied her were suddenly very quiet at school. One of them even showed up at the diner days later, his head hung low. He mumbled an apology, awkward and clumsy, but Ellie just smiled and said, I forgive you. She meant it, too. Rosie watched her daughter that day, realizing that strength doesn't always look like muscles or loud voices. Sometimes it looks like a soft-spoken girl with a limp, choosing kindness over anger, and the rest of the town started to change. People spoke up more. They stepped in when they saw someone being mistreated. They stopped turning a blind eye. The Guardians MC came back a few weeks later for pie. They said Ellie's story had inspired them to start a new community program, one that paired bikers with local kids to teach self-respect, confidence, and kindness. Ellie became the honorary ambassador. She even rode on the back of one of their bikes during the town parade that summer, her angel pin glinting in the sunlight. The crowd cheered, holding up signs that said, be kind like Ellie. Kindness doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it whispers. It shows up quietly, in the people who care enough to stand up for what's right or to forgive what's wrong. That day in Rosie's diner, kindness wore a leather jacket and rode a Harley. But it also wore an apron and a shy smile. It came from both sides, from the protectors and from the one who refused to let hate win. The world can be cruel, yes. But it can also be breathtakingly kind. All it takes is one moment of courage, one person willing to act, one choice to love instead of hate. So next time you see someone being mistreated, whether it's a stranger on the street or a classmate being mocked, remember Ellie and the bikers who walked in that day, because kindness is powerful. It heals, it protects, and it inspires. And sometimes, it just might change the whole town.